computers are born. Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us.
No, we will not service Washington.
Mr. Worf, fire.
Well. Looks like we made it through another week here. This is Renegade Ramblers Radio, and we are live. That's right, live. So, Jeff, how was your weekend?
Oh, not too bad. Working as usual, and but outside of that, doing pretty well. Hanging out here in the foxhole. It's getting really muddy here in the foxhole. It was 60 degrees here again today. Go figure. It's March and 60. It's February and it's 60 degrees. So hey, I'm glad for a little bit of global warming, man. It's saving me money on my pellets.
I was actually able to go outside and grill on the grill without a coat on. It felt good outside.
Oh, it was a beautiful day.
Down here as you are, though.
Oh, no, it was a beautiful day here. It was incredible. I'll take it every day. I'll take that over, 6 below or 10 below like it was last winter.
0 is too cold, my friend.
Yes, it is. So we ready to take off with some rants and rambles tonight?
Yep, go ahead, my friend.
All right. And folks, believe it or not, we have a really special event tonight. A little bit pomp and circumstance. Hold on a second. I think we're going there live right now. Hold on. Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
All right. This is going to be my 2017 State of the Union here. This is President Bailey. I'm sure Congress is anxiously awaiting my report. Mr. Speaker and members of Congress and of the judiciary and executive branches, I am here before you today to give you the State of the Union address as mandated by the U.S. Constitution. The state of our union is in shambles, my friend, shambles. We stand here today as a divided country. This country is clearly more divided than it was in 1860 with the election of President Lincoln the Tyrant. I would like to assure the states that I am no Lincoln. If the sovereign states that are party to this contract wish to leave, I will abide by their decision and would ask that we be able to maintain free trade and peaceful diplomatic relations with you. We hold no ill will for any party that wishes to go their own way and govern themselves. This is the American tradition. It dates back to our separation with Great Britain, of which we still have and maintain peaceful relations with to this day, even as they also go through their own break with the European Union. As has also become customary in this modern day since about Woodrow Wilson, I will now lay out my budget and policy direction for this year. As far as the budget goes, we clearly spend way too much money. We do not have an income problem or a tax problem. We have a spending problem. This problem is because few in this chamber have ever had to balance a checkbook and have gotten drunk, absolutely hammered off of spending other people's money. That ends today. I am giving you all clear notice that I intend to veto any spending bill sent out of this chamber. I also intend to shutter all non-constitutional agencies with or without Congress. If you fund them, I will deny them the ability to spend the money apportioned. That is my prerogative via the Constitution and is my right as president. To quote the former president, there are consequences to elections. You lost, get over it. The agencies listed here are but a start. FCC, Department of Interior, Department of Ag, Department of Energy, EPA, CIA, and NSA, which will be moved back to military intelligence where they should have stayed to begin with. Department of Education, Department of Labor, HUD, and many, many, many more. We must trim the fat from anywhere possible. The military also will become a lean, mean fighting machine. In the coming days, we will start the process of closing the vast majority of our military bases in Europe. There is no reason for us to be there anymore. Europe can maintain its own military, and we can no longer afford to be Europe's protector. We would use the savings to bolster our already expansive Navy. I believe we can drastically cut down the cost and waste in the military while not sacrificing our ability to deploy anywhere in the world within 24 hours or less. The simple fact is that we are being overcharged for renting these facilities that for the most part are no longer necessary with the advancement of technology. I believe we can roll the government back enough that the budget can come in at around $500 billion. That's right, friends. Billion with a B. A much lower cost than the current $4.5 trillion we are currently wasting. In return, my proposal uses the extra money to pay off the debt and to make sure Social Security is there for all the current retirees and those about to retire. We will also be rolling out a plan to eventually eliminate Social Security altogether while not putting our current dependents and those that have already counted on that money into hardship. Now for the policy section. As I can tell, you all are so happy and thrilled with my financial proposals. I have but one major policy direction, and that is the preservation of human life. While I would love to see the reduction of bad trade treaties and regulations, and while I will continue to work on these important concerns, I must place at the top of everything the elimination of human murder. We cannot agree that murder should be illegal and heavily punished. Then what is there left to agree on? I am going to do everything in my power as president to end the horrific practice of abortion. We must address the problem directly and hold all parties responsible. We say we are the beacon of light on the hill, that we have the moral high ground, and that we are exceptional. How can we be an exceptional country or hold the moral high ground when we, like Nazi Germany, Red China, and Communist Russia, continually put the most vulnerable among us at risk? I propose assistance for those people, but it must be run through entities not held or overseen by the federal government. My plan is that we return the final decision on this issue to the states, as it is not the purview of the federal government and never should have been to begin with. And I believe that while we should help the states fund this, that it should be through less oversight and tax cuts. Over 30% of the funds from federal taxes that goes back to the states is wasted due to federal mismanagement. This is the only way we can once again claim the moral high ground and move us back to being an exceptional country. I urge Congress to get on board with these proposals so that we can start to turn this country back from the abyss and once again return to being that shining beacon on a hill. Should you decide to fight me on these issues and try to hinder me, I will immediately start campaigning for the state legislatures to call for a convention and overthrow this system altogether. I have no desire for this kind of fight, but let it be known that I will not back down from a fight when I believe the cause is just. May God bless the several states. I don't think I get any rising applause out of that, do you?
No, I think there'd be stunned silence.
Oh, wouldn't that be just great if Trump said that? I'd
Yeah,
probably fall out of
yeah.
my chair. I'd fall out of the driver's
but,
seat with the daggone seatbelt on, I think, if I heard him say that at the State of the Union.
Yes, they're already going crazy with the little things he's already doing, and something like that would just send him over the edge. I don't know who killed Kennedy, but I have a feeling I could pretty much figure out who would kill Trump if he came up with that.
It'd probably be the Speaker of the House and the Majority Leader standing behind him.
Yes. I mean, it would be a wonderful day if we heard someone say that I would not oppose these states moving off onto their own. If we had Hillary, I know she would have been a Clinton. Or, yeah, she was a Clinton.
She's already a Clinton.
I know. Wow. She would have been a Lincoln. She would have been a Lincoln Clinton. Goodness, it's been a long weekend. But she would have been a Lincoln, and she would have definitely gone after the states and probably at the military and brought them back in by force. She would have definitely been another Lincoln. Trump, I don't know. We'll see. I would hope that he would. I would hope that he would see that it's good. I think Trump would see that it's a good thing to send like California. If California does go ahead and vote to leave, I suspect Trump's going to say, "Okay, hey, see you later." And you know what? I'll make you a good deal. We'll make America great, and we'll bring you along with us if you want, because it'll be good for us.
Yeah, we'll use you.
We'll trade. Does that make sense? I mean, that's kind of like where Trump's at. I mean, it's just about. I mean, with him, it is really about money.
Well, it makes perfect sense to me. But I'm a secessionist too, so
right. Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, that was a good. I really wish that we were going to hear a president say that. I don't believe we are. You and I are on the same page, and a lot of the people that are going to be listening are on the same page. That we really know that there's not going to be a change in Washington, D.C. They're not going to give up this $4.4 trillion gravy train. It's just not going to happen. I mean, it's money, man. It's all about the money and the power.
Well, they can't give it up. If they gave it up and the states actually realized their own authority, then the whole fraud is over. They have nothing. A lot of these guys can't hold a job to save their life.
I mean, a lot of them have never had a job. They've only ever lived off the public dole. I mean, really, when you think about it, most of these guys go there poor and come away multimillionaires because they end up getting this great job at some K Street firm to go and try to fleece more money from the government for their clients. So they're going to make 6-8 figures at some think tank in Washington, D.C. and build themselves a McMansion down the road.
This is we got to hit a break. I'll come back with what I think this sounds like right after the break.
Washington, D.C.
You will never find the more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
When you absolutely have to deal with the scum and villainy in Washington, D.C., be cautious and listen to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is always outside of the box.
Well, welcome back to Renegade Ramblers Radio. And as I promised, let me pull this up here. Jeff sent me this right before the show went on today. This is what it reminded me of.
Gee, babe, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
There are many sanctions we could take. Financial institutions, for one. Believe it or not, the Russians have a very weak economy. We could do a lot more damage there. Individuals could be sanctioned. Organizations could be sanctioned. There's a wide range of options that we still have to respond to a Russian attack. When you attack a country, it's an act of war. That would have to constitute an attack on the United States of America.
Let me ask you this question. Is Vladimir Putin a war criminal?
I would not use that term.
Well, let me describe the situation in Aleppo, and perhaps that will help you reach that conclusion.
You know, every time I hear little Marco Rubio talk, all I can think of is Pinky or McCain, and just go, Narf!
When I heard the take over the world bit, I just knew I had to put a little McCain and a little Rubio in there and have them talk about taking over the world.
Well, I think that's honestly their dream. They want to marshal forces, take over the Middle East, and then use the oil to take over Europe, Russia, or Europe, Asia, and Africa. I wouldn't even put the penguins in Antarctica safe if those guys got in charge of the military.
No, I don't think so. I think that just about anybody is unsafe with those people in charge. And you know what? It's just not those two. You got a bunch in the House. You got a bunch more in the Senate. You might have a handful. You may have maybe Rand Paul. I'm not even sure Justin Amash anymore. Massey, maybe. I used to think Gomer, but I'm not even sure of Gomer anymore. I mean, really, I don't even think I can come up with a handful of guys now that really aren't megalomaniacs that really, really would love to take over the world. So I don't know. We really are to that point where we were talking about earlier that I do not believe there's a fix for Washington. But I'm going to talk about that a little bit in my ramble here in a few minutes.
I honestly agree that with Mark Kreslin's on it, that these guys want nothing more. That any of these congressmen, when they go to work and tighten their tie or brush their skirts or pantsuits or whatever in the mirror, the only thing they think to themselves is Mr. or Mrs. President. They have world domination. I don't know. I don't know what bug you'd call it or what illness you'd call it. Megalomaniacs just doesn't sound harsh enough for me. Jeff, your mic's muted.
I'm not really sure where these guys are. I was messing with the phone. I was trying to get the volume down because obviously everyone that's listening to the show heard the ding of my phone. So I was trying to take care of that stealthily, but obviously I didn't do it very stealthily.
I thought it was on my end, so got you this time.
Yes. So So now it's down. You won't hear a ding again. That wasn't, honestly, I should have said that was me having an idea, and then that would have really been, the world would have been impressed with my peaky thinking.
You could do it for a sniper rifle shot, and then everybody would just think the NSA took you out.
Okay. So anyway, yes, these guys are out of control down there, and I don't know what else to say about them, but yes, they really do want to take over the world. So, are you ready for me to go on my ramble?
Did you want to do your ramble, or do you want me to play this Trump clip first?
Why don't we do my ramble first, and we can play the Trump clip after, because it's actually going to kind of tie in. That's why I kind of sent it to you, because it will, once I do my ramble, it'll all kind of make sense why I sent you that clip.
You got 8 minutes. Go.
Okay, I can do this. I'm a semi-professional. This is Jeff Johnson with my ramble for February 19th, 2017, and it is, "We're gonna get you, my Trumpy." The Wicked Witch of the East, the Deep State, and all its flying monkeys were circling the body of ousted Michael Flynn. Daniel, I'm getting some really serious feedback off you, I think.
I'm muted.
Okay, I'm not quite sure where it's coming from. But anyway, the ousted Michael Flynn. The has-been media has been abuzz for the last week over the Michael Flynn story. In one story, it was Royce Priebus that leaked the Flynn story. In another, it was Obama, the FBI, or the intelligence community. The other stories described how Trump's administration is in shambles, demoralized, and they all hate Trump. I think I have it about as correct as the has-beens. It really was the Wicked Witch of the East and her flying monkeys. When the tornado of last November 8th dropped the Trump on the evil witch of Oz, the Wicked Witch of the East went berserk. The Trump was moving along the Yellow Brick Road, picking up deplorables to go to Oz with him. DeVos, Flynn, Bannon. The Wicked Witch and her flying monkeys began throwing everything they had at the Trump. She finally succeeded in getting Michael Flynn to resign last week, in spite of the absence of any illegal activity. The flying monkeys began to circle, sensing blood in the water. Then the Trump held a press conference and swatted those circling monkeys out of the sky. Yeah, I know. This story is quite silly. I wish it were just funny. In fact, dangerous point in our history. This past week, the story of Michael Flynn was everywhere. The has-been media has acted as though they had everything they needed to destroy President Trump. I searched to no avail to find any illegal activity that led to the resignation. I could not even find an honest reporter that could cite anything improper that Flynn had done. The only stories I could find told of Mr. Flynn speaking to a Russian diplomat about President Obama expelling Russian diplomats. The articles presented Michael Flynn acting very diplomatically and suggesting that the Russians refrain from any forcible response. He told them that they would review the issue when the new administration was sworn in. I fail to see what he did wrong. The deep state will not stop here. They have declared war on the duly elected president. They are beholden to their benefactors in the military-industrial complex, welfare state, and spy state. The millions of faceless bureaucrats and their media monkey accomplices have fired the first shot in this bloodless coup attempt. This republic is looking more like a banana republic every day. President Trump needs to be aware that the deep state will do anything to protect their wealth and power. They do not have any problem committing crimes to win this war against President Trump. As President Trump continues to make good on his promises, the deep state will become more desperate to destroy him. As most of you know, I do not believe that Washington, D.C. can be fixed. I do believe, though, that President Trump believes that he can fix it, and his actions thus far speak to that. the deep state will commit any crime and perhaps even violent crime to defeat President Trump. The Wicked Witch of the East is pointing her craggy finger at him and is saying, "I'll get you, my Trumpy." That was my ramble for February 19, 2017. If you want to read it and comment, it's at blatherings.wordpress.com. blatherings.wordpress.com. So we have the deep state that's at war with this administration, and they're going to pull out every stop to do everything they can. And that was why I sent you that clip, and I don't know if we have time to play it now. I think it was about 4 minutes. I would put us into a break. So did you have anything you want to discuss about my ramble before we head off to break there, Daniel?
That was all I just realized.
Okay.
You did, so I couldn't cut it and tell you that.
Okay. Yes. And when you go to my blog, you'll find that I have the picture of the Wicked Witch standing over the body of the other old witch that's under the house. So that was the Trump being dropped on the Wicked Witch of Oz.
I don't know. The bucket of water was pretty well, too.
The deep state's not going to stop. President Trump is a serious threat to the gravy train. We've already talked about earlier in your ramble or your rant about the $4.4 trillion. You think that they're going to give up $4.4 freaking trillion? There's no way they're going to give that up, and they're not going to give it up peaceably.
No, they're going to go down fighting. Well, let's go ahead and hit the break and reset the clock here, and then we'll go and talk more. We'll play the Trump clip on the way back and get more into this. This is Renegade Ramblers Radio. We'll be right back after a word from Jeff Johnson's commercial breaks.
Aboard. Resistance is futile. Your life, as it has been, is over. From this time forward, you will service us. Mr. Wolf. Fire.
Tired of servicing the cybernetic organisms in Washington, D.C.? Unplug yourself and listen to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is always outside of the box.
Yeah, I'm sitting on this bar, doing all night.
got the 12 of my little bit. Now giving up hope for the afternoon souls and a bottle of cold brew. Just let me wonder I'm not crazy. Just let me wonder I'm saying it all. I'm so tired of losing, I got nothing to do.
Well, welcome back to Renegade Ramblers Radio. This is your host. Well, now we're going to go into the Trump clip here, so hang on a second while I load it up.
Just something that Jonathan Carl was asking you about. You said that the leaks are real, but the news is fake. I guess I don't understand. It seems that there's a disconnect there. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be fake?
The reporting is fake.
And if I may ask, I just want to ask
Jim, you know what it is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false because they're not involved. I'm involved. I've been involved with this stuff all my life, but I'm involved. So I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone, the word tone. The tone is such hatred. I'm really not a bad person, by the way. No, but the tone is such, I do get good ratings, you have to admit that. The tone is such hatred. I watched this morning a couple of the network, and I have to say, Fox and Friends in the morning, they're very honorable people. They're very, not because they're good, because they hit me also when I do something wrong, but they have the most honest morning show. That's all I can say. It's the most honest. But the tone, Jim, if you look, the hatred, sometimes somebody gets, well, you look at your show that goes on at 10 o'clock in the evening. You just take a look at that show. That is a constant hit. The panel is almost always exclusive anti-Trump. The good news is he doesn't have good ratings, but the panel is almost exclusive anti-Trump. And the hatred and venom coming from his mouth, the hatred coming from other people on your network. Now, I will say this. I watch it. I see it. I'm amazed by it. And I just think you'd be a lot better off. I honestly do. The public gets it, Look, when I go to rallies, they turn around, they start screaming at CNN. They want to throw their placards at CNN, I think you would do much better by being different. But you just take a look. Take a look at some of your shows in the morning and the evening. If a guest comes out and says something positive about me, it's brutal. Now, they'll take this news conference. I'm actually having a very good time, okay? But they'll take this news conference. Don't forget, that's the way I won. Remember, I used to give you a news conference every time I made a speech, which was like every day. Okay? No, that's how I won. I won with news conference and probably speeches. I certainly didn't win by people listening to you people, that's for sure. But I'm having a good time. Tomorrow they will say, Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people. But I'm not ranting and raving. I love this. I'm having a good time doing it. But tomorrow the headlines are going to be Donald Trump rants and raves. I'm not ranting and raving. Go ahead.
So here we go. I just love that clip. Like I said to you in our pre-show prep, I was like, when is the last time you could ever remember a president? I don't know. I should have counted them. Maybe 25 times call the press a bunch of liars. And he wasn't mincing words. He didn't say, oh, you guys were sort of not being really totally honest, No, he was like, yeah, you guys didn't tell the truth. You total lie. It was incredible. I was shocked. And so I was amazed that we had a president that actually stood up to him, had the guts to stand up to him, and actually just called them what they are, a bunch of liars and accomplices with the deep state.
Yeah, that was kind of amazing. I'm still amazed at how it doesn't seem to hurt him to come out and just completely slam the press. As well as I do, if any of the other candidates had tried that, it would have backfired on him. Look at what happened to Newt Gingrich when he tried it. What was that, 2012?
Yes, I can't remember what year it was, but I do remember. And it just completely backfired on him. Trump is just a completely different person because, number one, he was never a politician before this. As far as I know, he's never been a politician before this. I don't know of any. He was a businessman, and he, as a businessman, always spoke his mind, always said what he meant, and always did what he said. Number one is because he had to, because if he didn't and he was in a contract, they were going to sue him. He's going to lose a lot of money. So he did what he said. And now he's doing that in his administration. I sent you another clip. It was a really long one. And I mean, it would take up the rest of our show just to play that clip. But it was a press conference about him signing a House joint resolution, getting rid of a whole bunch of regulations that I believe it was the EPA or somebody had passed on all these coal miners that destroyed thousands and thousands of jobs, cost hundreds of millions of dollars to the states and to our economy, and potentially could have crippled our electric producing capability. But he had all these people there, and what was really amazing is there were Democrat congressmen and senators that were joint in this whole venture of passing this resolution that did away with all this regulation that's going to bring back jobs. And they were praising Trump. So it's really, I mean, I sit there and I kind of scratch my head. You have all these Democrats running around, screaming, you got Chucky Schumer acting like an idiot, saying that the Statue of Liberty is crying because of illegal aliens and blah, blah, blah. But it is really incredible press conference about the signing with these Democrats and Republicans all coming together to do what's actually best for the workers in the states.
Yeah.
So
they completely underestimated the electric in this last election, and it came back and bite them. But I do like how he comes out and just does you guys lost, get over it.
Well, it's even more than that, I think. He's not playing their game anymore. I mean, you had Pappy Bush, then you had Clinton, then you had younger Bush, and then you had Obama. They all played by the rules. They didn't call out the media on their lies, their distortions, their manipulation, and their propaganda. And Trump isn't playing that game. Those other presidents were willing to play along because they could use them at times to get what they wanted and use them to send along their propaganda. And now Trump is not doing that. He's, he is going out. If you look around, he goes out to Twitter, he's going out to Facebook, and he's going right up to the people. He's cutting them completely out. Now, he did hold a press conference, but do you think he wasn't very nice to them, and they weren't happy about it. And it was very refreshing. And at the end there, I had another thought about it, but now it's just left my mind. But he is done playing the game with them and letting them get away with them pushing their agenda. He has what he's going to do, and he is pushing ahead, and he's not going to let them derail it, like I was talking about with the Flynn thing, which didn't make sense in a sense, though, too, because he caved to them and accepted his resignation in spite of the fact, like I said, I couldn't find where he did anything illegal. And honestly, from what I could read on everywhere I looked, he was being very diplomatic and was trying to smooth over a situation Obama caused. It was in December. It was before he was even in the administration. And he was a private citizen, and they were spying on the private citizen and leaked his conversation. That was an incredible, that in itself was incredible.
Yeah, there's obviously no loyalty between them right now.
No. So this whole event has been, the media is definitely not happy. The deep state's not happy. And Trump had better be watching his back, because they're definitely gunning for him, and they aren't going to stop until they get what they want. And that is to continue to steal from us, to continue to not govern us, but to rule us. Because that really is, I mean, Daniel, face it, that's where we're at. We're not being governed. And that's what Jefferson and them were trying to set up, was a general government to facilitate the states working together to govern us. Well, not today. We're being ruled. We are the serfs, the slaves, as our hippie friend down there in Arizona says, we're slaves, and we are. I mean, we're tax slaves. They own us, and we work to provide for them. But they do rule us today, and that is really what is at stake here. Is they do not want to lose their ability to rule us and to use us as their slaves to provide for their needs.
We're nothing more than collateral in the debt.
Yes, and to provide. I mean, we do provide through our labor and their stealing of our wealth. We do provide about 3 point something trillion dollars of that, and the rest they're borrowing and using our labor as collateral for future payment. But honestly, I think we're about at the end of that too.
Yeah, they're printing money as fast as they can. The problem is they're running out of phony paper to put it on.
Well, so yes, they are. I think that the deep state, that the media accomplices, they're all getting very scared, and they are afraid they're going to lose the gravy train, their money. They're afraid they're going to lose their power. They're to rule us and to tell us how we're going to live our lives. And I do have actually a story to go on with that when we come back from the break, about them ruling us and wanting to rule our lives. So,
okay, you want me to go ahead?
We'll also go to break. We're pretty darn close to it now.
Yeah, okay, I'll go ahead and take us out to break. This is Renegade Ramblers Radio, and we'll be right back after this.
You are about to embark on a great crusade to stamp out runaway decency in the West. Do that voodoo that you do so well.
Headley and the Leviathan stamping out runaway decency in the West? Do that voodoo that you do, and listen to Renegade Ramblers Radio, where renegade thinking is always outside of the box.
It was a beautiful day, the sun beat down, I had the radio on, I was driving, the trees went by, me and Del were singing, a little runaway, I was flying, yeah, running down a dream, that never would come to me, working on this.
Well, welcome back. This is Renegade Ramblers Radio, where thinking outside the box is always a good thing. Okay, Jeff, you had another story for us this evening.
Yes, I just wanted to continue on where I just left off about this whole issue with the deep state and the ruling elites wanting to rule us, not to govern us. And I have this story here from Breitbart by a Susan Berry. And the title of the story is Homeschoolers Revolt Against Republican School Choice Bill. So, hey, school choice, we all should be behind that, right? Well, a bunch of homeschoolers obviously have figured out something the rest of us didn't already know. Homeschooling families throughout the nation are voicing opposition to a Republican-sponsored school choice bill that they say will ultimately result in regulations of homeschooling in the United States. Many parents who homeschool their children, as well as numerous local and national homeschooling organizations, are protesting the bill introduced by Iowa Representative Steve King, Republican, and calling upon members of Congress who are its sponsors to leave homeschooling families alone. School vouchers created by H.R. 610, the Choices in Education Act of 2017, would be a slippery slope toward more federal involvement and controlling in homeschooling, asserts William Estrada, Director of Federal Relations for the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. So here we are. Even when we have Republicans who are supposedly the good guys, we got the red team and the blue team, and the red team's the good guys, the blue team's the bad guys. We all have to love the red guys and hate the blue guys. So we got the red team trying to get us something great. And really when it comes down to, if these folks are right that are homeschooling in this homeschooling defense association, it's just going to lead to more government involvement in homeschooling and more government regulation of the families trying to do the right thing for their families.
Well,
Daniel,
I know you guys, you were using air finger quotes there, because what has the Republicans ever done that was good?
Oh, no, I mean, people can't see me, but I mean, my hands were up in the air doing the air fingers quotes, but yeah, I mean, and I was being facetious about the red team good, blue team bad. Honestly, you and I already agree. That we have to change the paradigm. We can't look at Republicans versus Democrat, blue versus red, conservative, which is a meaningless term today, and liberals. I mean, that's just, they're completely shot. They don't mean a thing. We have to change the paradigm. We have to stop looking at it. We have to get back to governing ourselves locally. And I can't remember if it was last week we were talking about a little bit, or maybe I was talking to our friend Mark Kreslins about this. Matter of fact, I'm sure that's what it was. And I was talking to him, and I said, listen, it really comes down to that we have to have access to session. And I'm not talking states. It's time that we have little acts of secession. Daniel, you and your family are going through it now. You're doing a little act of secession. You're pulling your children out of the public school system and homeschooling them. You're saying, I no longer consent. I'm separating myself from this public school system, and I'm going to take care of this. I know I'm going to still get charged to educate everyone else's kids, but it's access to session at the local level, our personal level. That's what we need to do. We got to change this paradigm. We got to get away from accepting that these guys have any role really to do in it. But here it is, this story, the Choices in Education Act of 2017. These guys in this one association believe that it's going to lead to more regulation of homeschoolers.
No, I'm sure you already know where I'm coming from on all this. I kind of blew up your Facebook page on it when one of your buddies came up and was saying
that's where I was going with this. But
of course.
Yes, that's where I was just going with this, because I was just going to say, I brought this up, and because it's a friend, I actually stepped back. I did something Carpenter knows I have a hard time doing at times, is I shut my mouth and I didn't say something mean. So I calmly said about a sentence response, and, and I left it open for you to come in and take care of it, because I actually stepped away.
Yeah,
yeah,
didn't go too deep into it. I mean, too bad, I don't think. But yeah,
no, you actually were not rude. So people out there realize Daniel was not rude.
What was that?
You were not rude. That's what I was just saying. I said people out there just understand Daniel was not rude. You actually gave very cogent reasons why, and I agreed, but I didn't say it because I was trying to keep the peace and not chase the guy off. I was letting you present the side because you were correct. And if I had jumped in, I would have said, listen, I'm not anti-teacher, but what I am is the teachers today aren't teachers. They don't teach kids how to think, how to reason. They teach them what to think. They teach them the answers to the question. So it's not about learning how to arrive at the answer. It's learning to memorize the answer so you can put it down on a test so they can get more funding next year from the federal government.
Yeah, and for full how do we want to say this? Full disclosure, there we go. I was homeschooled the last 2 years that I was in high school. I went to college. I did fine. I did 2 years of college. I dropped out. It was my own choice to drop out. It wasn't because the academics was too hard or that I was socially backwards or any of that stuff. My mom was a teacher in the Christian school. I have a friend that's a substitute teacher for the public school. They'll all tell you the same thing. If you can get your kids out of the public schools, get them out. The public schools are not safe, for one thing. The violence in the public schools is ridiculous. The fact that they'll be more worried about a pedophile living in your house under your supervision than they are about a teacher having sex with a 16-year-old kid is ridiculous to me. And I mean, luckily I live in a state that is very pro homeschool compared to some other states. In fact, we did some research on it. In Alabama, you actually have to belong to a Christian association that charges $200 a year to homeschool your kids. You can't just privately homeschool your kids.
Yes, and that's why I've been saying for a long time that parents really need to pull their kids out of the indoctrination camps because they're not teaching them how to be thinkers. They're teaching them how to be good workers for the state so they can provide more resources, be good little slaves to go out, march off to their little jobs, and provide more resources for the state so they can buy more bombs to bomb brown people over in the Middle East. So, I really do not have anything against educators. I have two uncles that were educators. I have friends that are educators. My sister-in-law is an educator. It's not about teachers. It is about the system.
They treat kids as widgets. They want kids to be good little workers that know just enough to operate the machine and grow food, but dumb enough that they never question their federal overlords or their state overlords or their local overlords. Oh, they're in government. We must fall down. They know more than we do. They're not interested in actually teaching people to be self-sufficient, how to balance checkbooks, etc. They're only worried about turning them into good little debt slaves.
Right. So let's see. We got about 5 minutes left in the show. I'm going to change gear a little bit. I'm going to kind of jump into a different thing altogether. But unless you had something more to add on the homeschooling thing, it was just another story I picked up that it just went along with this whole evening with your rant and my ramble about the state. And we need to just start, like I said, it's going to take little acts as a session. We, as family members, we need to pull away and say we do not wish to comply any longer. We're going to homeschool our kids. I have going back to what you just said a minute ago, I have a niece that's in a university here in Pennsylvania right now, Dean's List, running about a 3.9 GPA homeschooler. And she's doing 3.9 in college. She's working full-time for the university in their business office while keeping a 3.9. So the whole issue with that person that said that homeschoolers. Basically, his comment was that homeschoolers, they're woefully undereducated. Well, not true. And that was basically what I said. So anyway, before we run out of time, I have another little story in my hand here. Everyone can hear it. One state considers allowing EMTs, first responders, to conceal carry. I think everyone pretty much knows that listens to the show that at one time I was a firefighter paramedic, and we were never able to carry. And there was so many instances, not personally. I have a friend that was responding to a fire at a house, and as they were coming up towards the house was up on the hill, and they still had the piece of equipment that has the bullet holes on it at that fire department. From that person sitting up there in the house, up on the hilltop, while he burned his house down, was shooting at the responders coming to the house. I know of some firefighters in Buffalo. Remember the story where they were shot and killed. There was like 2 or 3 of them that were shot and killed. It is time that these responders become able to defend themselves. And especially in a lot of states, it's actually illegal for them to carry a firearm. It's time for this to change. These folks need to be able to defend themselves when they're going to this. They're going into situations. A lot of these situations are quite volatile. We go to family disputes where there's abuse. Just the same as a police officer walks through that door, we're walking into the same dangerous situation unarmed. And it's about time. This was a Texas article. I could read it. It's just not important. It's the whole idea that first responders have the ability to carry concealed. These laws need to change.
Should have been changed a long time ago. It shouldn't take something like that to get them to change.
Right. So anyway, I just wanted to touch on that because I knew we were just about out of time. It was just one last story I wanted to throw out there. We have a lot of people that are concealed carry, permit holders. We have a lot of people that prepare in the preparedness, and a lot of them that are in the preparedness they do volunteer. They're in volunteer departments, and in most of the volunteer departments around here, you cannot carry concealed. It's illegal. It's time that this needs to change. We need to allow our first responders the ability to defend themselves because they're going into the same dangerous situations that our police departments are going into to help out the community. So this is Renegade Ramblers Radio, where Renegade thinking is always outside the box. And man, Daniel, I don't know. We about out of time?
Yeah, we got 1 minute left.
Oh, good. Man. Walking Dead, baby. So, folks, everyone's got to go. Okay, we're almost done. So I know you're all sitting there jittering because Walking Dead's coming on. So the countdown's on. And I think in a minute, we're going to probably have the music going out. And I'm going to go out and sit down and watch The Dead.
All right. I'm going to go ahead and take us out so you have plenty of time to get over there.
Thank you for listening, everyone.
Yes, thank you for listening. This is Renegade Ramblers Radio. We will see you next week. We'll be live both on Shoutcast and on YouTube. Look forward to hearing you then. If you like YouTube, subscribe. If you like the Shoutcast, download the app at Renegade Ramblers Radio, and it's on the Google Play Store. Until next week, stay safe.